side, it's Pete Smith and Melanie Mott. On the Democratic side is Councilman Jon Dean and Sandy Doyon. This is the last time I say Republican and Democrat because they're just residents of South Plainfield as far as I'm concerned, okay? You want me to do the rules or?
Hi everybody, I'm Suzanne LaPorte. The rules tonight, each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement. During the question and answering portion, you'll have 2 minutes to answer a question. At the 30-second mark, a card will be held up, letting you know that you have 30 seconds left. And then at the end of the time, you have a red card or anything?
No, I just say time.
Okay, you'll be just announced that it's time, that's it, you have to stop. There'll be 1 minute for rebuttals, and if a topic needs to have a second rebuttal, we'll do so at the discretion of the moderator at that moment. So at this point, was there a coin toss already to determine who was going to start with the opening statements? So, okay. So
We'll just start with that way and go down, and then the closing statements will start this way and go back. Is that okay with you?
Okay, so Pete, would be you to.
Do I have to hold this button down the whole time I'm talking?
Yeah, the red light goes on, it should stay on, right?
Yeah, and then just bring the mic close to you.
Because if you don't bring it close, it's not gonna, yeah, that's fine. Turn it off when you're not speaking, just so you know that it should be on while you're not speaking.
But I want to interrupt you every time I get a chance.
All right.
See how loud that is?
How's that? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah,
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here tonight for this debate. My name is Pete Smith. I've lived in South Plainfield since 1999. I graduated high school, went on to a little bit of college, but I went into the military, served 9 years between the Army and the New Jersey Army National Guard, came home, joined the Elks. One of the greatest organizations and the greatest decisions I've ever made was to join them, to devote myself to community service and helping those less fortunate than myself. I've been on the planning board here in South Plainfield on and off since 2004, 2005, and I am presently still on the planning board. I am running for council because I feel I can help our community continue the growth that we're going in the direction we're going, and want to dedicate myself to the community. That's why I'm here. I'll be happy to answer all your questions to the best of my ability, and look forward to your support in November. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Mott. My husband Chris and I have been residents of South Plainfield since 2005. We have 3 children, Taylor, who is 21 and currently residing at Camp Pendleton in California with her Marine husband, John, Kylie, who is 16 and a sophomore at South Plainfield High School, and Sean, who is 9 and in 4th grade at Franklin Elementary. I've been involved in PTOs for the past 16 years, volunteer for many charitable organizations, and also volunteer to assist local families whenever there is a need. South Plainfield really has an amazing sense of community unlike any other, and I hope to not only continue giving back, but to enter in a larger arena of public service by being elected to represent our residents. I'm a full-time realtor and have been running a successful business since 2004. Well, what does this really mean? Running a commission-based only business that thrives on past client referrals requires strong ethics, morals, and the ability to always put my client's interests above my own. I have not been unemployed since I obtained my working papers at age 14, as my parents have come from both low and middle income families and have instilled in us the work ethic needed to succeed in life. All of my positions have been customer service based, and due to the dedication and effort that I pour into my work, along with my ability to listen, think out of the box, and most importantly, making the end result a positive one, that I have received many local, state, regional, and national awards for outstanding service. Customer service is a true passion of mine, and I know that these skills will be highly beneficial to the borough as your public servant. Thank you.
Hello, For those that don't know me, my name is Councilman Jon Dean. I was elected to the council in 2016. I'm a lifelong resident of South Plainfield, grew up on the south side of town. I'm a graduate from South Plainfield Public Schools with a degree from Engine City Tech for diesel mechanics. I also have several degrees from Rutgers Landscape in landscape design and landscape construction. I'm an exempt fireman for South Plainfield Fire Department, where I serviced for 15 years. I've also serviced our Office of Emergency Management for 10 years. I met my wife from South Plainfield, married my wife Catherine, who is also a lifelong resident. We have 3 amazing children, Alexis, Anastasia, and Lucas. I've always dedicated my time to servicing our residents. I'm a principal owner of ATEC Landscape Design, who has also donated various services to different organizations throughout our borough and PTOs. I created the Rose Pelton Rose Garden with the Franklin School PTO, and I'll keep it as well to this day. ATEC has also been a main sponsor to our South Plainfield Lions Club for the annual Touch a Truck. Since being elected and working with the other council members, our borough has created its first dog park. And again, with my assistance, I've donated all the necessary equipment and materials to hydroseed the turf park to make something affordable for our town that wouldn't cost any extra money. My life has always been there to help others and give back to our community. If I'm re-elected as councilman, I will continue to use my skills and knowledge and work with the rest of our council to keep our community growing the way it should be. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sandy Doyon. I'm a candidate for Borough Council. I'm a lifelong resident of South Plainfield and a graduate of South Plainfield Public Schools. And I'm a graduate of Salisbury University in Maryland. My husband Tom and I will be married 38 years tomorrow. We were blessed to have one child, our son Tommy, who most of you know passed away 4 years ago after losing a valiant fight against drug addiction. I've been a teacher in South Plainfield for over 25 years. Being a first grade teacher is not just my job, it's my passion. In fact, I write to all of my students to wish them good luck at the beginning of each school year and a holiday card every Christmas or Hanukkah from the time they're in first grade until they graduate high school. I want them to know how much I care and how much this community means to me. Volunteering and public service have been family traditions that I'm proud to continue, starting as a Pop Warner cheerleading coach here at the age of 16, a few years ago. Currently, I'm working on a committee which includes our local funeral director, Ricky McCriskin, Bill Ashnell from Twin City Pharmacy, Lions Club President Mike Sushma, and State Senator Patrick Dykeman to bring much-needed age-appropriate drug education to intermediate and middle school students in Middlesex County. I'm running for council because I know that I can do a great job. I give 100% of whatever I do. And my experience working with people and being able to solve problems will be an asset to the community. I'm excited to be running with Jon, and I hope that you will support us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, we're going to just jump in with a question for everybody. What can be done about our tax rates going up? And we'll start with the Democrats.
With our tax rates going up,
Yes.
well, the municipal tax rates have been staying flat. The only tax rate that has gone up was the counties. And with that, the counties, yes, the tax rates have gone up, but the county's also reinvesting into all of our parks. They've donated, to open space funds. They're reinvesting into roadways. So as the county tax rate may have gone up, to whatever percentage it might have gone up to, they are reinvesting into the borough itself.
Does anyone want
Let's yes, the council, candidates.
to? It can be anybody. It could be either. You can share the 2 minutes if you need to, or all 2 minutes could be for one candidate, or either. And then so now you guys would also have 2 minutes to answer the question.
So I'll start with the simple fact that the municipal taxes have only gone up not 1% over the past 10 years. So that I think is a good start. And again, we always have to watch spending and our costs.
Yes, excuse me, in agreement with Melanie said, our taxes haven't gone up. So we're not really concerned about them going up, we're just worried about keeping them stable. And by doing that, I want to continue the efforts that we've been doing for years of not outsourcing as much, but trying to keep things in-house, but getting competitive bids to keep the rates down and continue to invest in our community.
I agree that the tax rate has to stay down, and it's done a pretty good job. However, it's been on the back of a lot of debt. We have incurred a great amount of debt to keep the tax rates low. So I think we have to look at both sides of that. We have to make sure that we start paying our debt down, because we're passing it on to our children in South Plainfield, and to see what we can do to keep the taxes low.
Excuse me. Our bond rating is a AA bond rating. We get our loans that we borrow at a better rate that's been going down. And this year on your tax bill, that part of that increase is to pay down debt. So with that less than 1% increase that we've had, the party that's been in control right now has been doing that for you, the residents.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Now I have a question for the Republicans. Why do you keep comparing current budgets to 2009 in your campaign literature, which was a transition year of 2008 to 2009 that was based on two separate municipal budgets, with the first half of the budget being traditionally higher and the second half based on a 6-month budget so that the borough could move to a calendar-based fiscal year?
It's been compared to because it's constantly being referenced about how this party, the leadership that we've had, has been putting us in debt, putting us here, putting us there. Our tax rates and our ratables have been great for this town, so there's nothing to compare it to other than when the Democrats were in control. They want to sit down and tell you the only choice for a voice is to go with that. Look at the records at your tax bills. Look how much they've been at these years in the past and where they are now. So what can you compare it to when you come to a debate to go against your opponents for what they've had and what they've ran on in the past?
John nor I were on the council in 2009, and I do find the debt to be a problem. $30 million debt is a problem when you're only paying interest. Nobody would do that with their home mortgage. Nobody would do that with their credit cards. So, we can go back and forth on that, but the problem is we just keep borrowing. So you'll say that the tax rate stays down, but at what expense? And I hope it still stays down, but I know there's more expense that's going to be incurred, and we have to watch what we're doing.
Yep, that's it. Thank you. Well, no, they were both looking to go back to the other side. So we had the rebuttal. I was just going to stop it at that. Okay, so the next question that I have is somewhat of a two-part question. We have questions about property maintenance issues. What are we doing to enforce lots of messy properties in the neighborhoods that look bad? And what are we doing to pursue town development and beautification projects so that the downtown area has a better appearance, welcoming, not dumpy, and run down like it looks now?
Yeah, it's a two-part question,
Two-part,
correct? Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah, with that, I agree. The current administration did remove our full-time code enforcement officers and made it a part-time position, which, we've discussed, and, it's catching up to the borough. We've seen it now. There's, without having a full-time person out there constantly patrolling the streets and checking on everything, people are being a little more lax and not upkeeping with their properties, commercial properties, whatever it may be, and that became an issue. So we are working on that, and hopefully, in the near future, we'll make this a better position where we will clean up the town so that everybody's property values stay where they're supposed to be.
So yes, as I was going to mention, the borough is actually in the process of hiring a full-time zoning officer that will be combined with code enforcement, so we are able to stay on top of things more efficiently. As far as beautification goes, what we would like to do is create a beautification committee, and that would be a group of volunteer residents as well as business owners that will work with the borough in order to bring ideas to enhance the beauty of South Plainfield. Some ideas include maybe a Homes of the Month program, Holiday Homes of the Month program, flower and garden clubs, and Borough Hall decorating. I know that Cultural Arts put together a really nice display in front of Borough Hall, which I think is a great addition.
I'm not sure how you know about a full-time zoning officer, because we haven't announced that officially yet, so I think it's a little premature to be putting it out there. That was stuff that was just discussed recently, so I think announcing that outright yet, without it being fully advertised, is a little early to be saying that. And I'm a sitting council member.
Thank you.
Process and the talks of.
Thank you.
Information should have been linked out.
Okay, enough. This is a question for the Republicans now to answer first. Do any of the candidates have a plan for addressing the train noise from the freight lines that run through town? Other towns have implemented quiet zones, and South Plainfield has not done that. Has not done anything yet. And let's start with the Republicans.
Well, as Mr. Dean said, we're not on council yet, so it's hard to sit down and tell you what can and cannot be done. I know for a fact that when you look at the property by Shervin's and Nishwitz, that would cost close to $2 to $3 million because of to try to put a quiet zone, to put that through there, because you would need the property to expand that. That is public knowledge. As far as the other parts of the quiet zones, we have to look at all of what's available. There's restrictions on that, and we would have to look at that once we become council members.
Correct. It's something that's obviously a major concern for a lot of the residents of South Plainfield. We see it all over social media and everything. There's a lot to it. We got Piscataway that we have to contend with and work with them as well on New Brunswick Avenue. We got the Clinton Avenue extension, which they're going to be redoing the culvert over there soon. So there's a lot of other work ahead of this before we could just jump into the ground and say we're going to put quiet zones into all these areas. We need to get everybody else on board, the county and everything else, and then really put this together and see what and how it's really going to benefit the residents of South Plainfield.
Thank you. I had a question about, oh, here we go. So you mentioned the Clinton Ave extension. So I do have a question about why there were no police directing traffic today when there was a terrible traffic tie-up because of a stalled train. Roads were closed and it took 40 minutes to leave town.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to work early this morning when I kind of saw the train stuck there, and most of my employees were very delayed getting to work because my office is right there on the Roosevelt Avenue. I'm not aware of, the cops not being there. I did see barricades eventually over there at some point. Not even sure exactly how long the train was stuck there, but Murphy's Law, I mean, when things are going to go wrong, things are going to go wrong. Unfortunately, we have a major sewer break on New Brunswick Avenue, so we got that section of the roadway shut down over there. The train stuck on Clinton Avenue tracks, and just traffic just became a total nightmare. I'm sure our police eventually got over there. They're not the ones that are going to sit around and avoid a crisis like this. It might have just took a little bit of time before they got there. You're dealing with shift changes and everything as well. So I'm pretty positive they were there, but I didn't hear any phone calls from anyone saying that the cops never showed up there.
I have nothing to say to that.
Thank you. All right, the next question is for anybody. What will you do about overnight truck parking in residential areas?
assuming it's commercial trucks, big
Yeah,
trucks.
it just says overnight truck parking.
What will we do about it? I mean, we have laws restricting that, so I mean, all I can say is if there's trucks parking in residential areas overnight, we gotta call the police department. I mean, if we don't know about it, we can't enforce it, but there is laws enforcing that over certain weight limits, and we are actually looking at redoing some of the codes and as far as commercial vehicles and lowering the weight limits and some height restrictions as well to try to minimize how much commercial vehicle parking is at residential areas.
I tend to agree, if we have a law on the books, it should be followed, and it's up to our residents to make sure they call the police and notify them of these issues so that they can be taken care of properly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question is related also to traffic. What can be done about the large amount of people who speed in their cars throughout town? And let's start with.
So there are a few things you can do. You can notify the police. Hopefully the police will catch them before they're notified. But other than that, I know a lot of residents have been requesting speed bumps, which there is a process to. You can go on the borough website and fill out a petition, have some of the residents on your street sign them, and then we would do a traffic study. And with that traffic study, we would then determine if speed bumps would be needed and take it from there.
Yeah, if there's a speeding issue, I mean, again, the police department needs to be notified. I could say one thing, the South Plainfield, we are becoming a town of speed bumps, so I'm not quite sure speed humps everywhere is the right answer, because it's not slowing down the speed as it is, so, I think South Plainfield, like I said, is really known as the town of speed humps. We got them everywhere, but, you know, I understand in the school zones and everything like that, it definitely is the right thing to do, but if you notify the police that there's a certain area that, there's been constant speeding issues, traffic safety will be out there, and they will sit there and they will monitor, and they'll give tickets, even if it's residents. I mean, so just notify the police department.
Okay. I have two questions. We'll make this a two-part question relating to properties within South Plainfield. The first part is, what is happening with the Cornell Dublier site, and when will paving be done on Oak Tree Ave in the section between Park Ave and Front Street?
Well, the Cornell Dublier site, the Superfund site, that's going to be an ongoing project. Right now they're in phase 2, which they're actually building a water treatment facility in the back corner right now that is actually going to take the water from the Bound Brook, treat the water, put it back in to remove any PCBs. The next phase, which, again, all depends on funding from federal laws and everything, there's a water main that actually cuts a large diameter water main, I should say, that cuts right through the entire site. That main has to be disconnected inside the middle of like Hamilton Boulevard and run down through the extension down Spicer Avenue, kind of cut through the back of the DPW to Belmont Avenue to reconnect the water to those areas. So I think you're not going to see a whole lot of movement at the Cornell Dublier site until all the EPA work and DEP work is done on that facility before we start seeing any kind of development there.
And what about the paving?
Paving as far as Oak Tree Road, we'll have to check with the county on that. That's a county road. No, it's a township road, I'm sorry. We'll find out from our borough engineer what the schedule is on that, if it's on the list, or when it's going to be on the list for paving.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Dean, isn't the Dublier site already designated for a developer that already has something in place? I know he can't build on it yet, but I know that's what they're waiting to get the approvals, but that has already been set to a contract of a developer, am I right?
Correct, but nothing's going to be done until the Superfund end of stuff is going to be taken care of.
Okay, thank you. We're going in a little bit of a different direction now. This is a question that was addressed to both parties. With regard to modern reliance on technology, being internet, solar energy, what would you do to help the South Plainfield residents get access to affordable, reliable resources?
One of the programs I would like to see us look into is renewable energy. We do have some places in this town that could probably use for solar farms. We would have to contact our utility companies and the landowners to see if that's a possibility. As far as internet is concerned, I don't think there's anything we as the town can do that's by the internet providers, whether it be Bios, Comcast, or anything to that nature. But using renewable energy and finding better ways to get energy into our town will be a lot more affordable to our residents.
Thank you.
Correct, I would agree with that. I mean, we have one of the best green teams in South Plainfield. They get all kinds of awards and plaques and everything for the sustainable energy that they put out and the programs that they run. So I think they're doing everything that we can to make South Plainfield green. And if there's something else that we can do, we're certainly researching that as far as solar and changing things to LEDs and everything as well.
Just don't get used to that.
Okay, thank you. All right, I've got another question that's directed to both parties. Why was a second extended stay hotel approved when the first one is notorious for drug activity and overdoses?
I obviously cannot answer that question as I was not a part of any doings in that, so.
I sit on the planning board in this town, and when an applicant comes before any town that's conforming and provides all the current information that is needed and does not violate any variance or ordinances, it has to be passed or we will be sued. It has happened in the past where they fight it, and it costs your tax dollars to go into courts to try to stop these things. Unfortunately, I understand the question and I don't disagree with you, but they were conforming. We held them to every I to be dotted, every T to be crossed, and every punctuation mark to be marked, and they came through with a conforming application, and that's how it was passed.
I agree with Pete on that. I mean, there's nothing really the boards can actually do to say, no, we don't want you moving into our town. And I'm assuming we're talking about the Woodspring Suites on Hamilton Boulevard. And, even though the hotel next to it doesn't, the image doesn't represent anything very nice, the Woodspring Suites can't hold them to it because they have a beautiful property and they're keeping it up and maintaining it. And I think one of the reasons why we do need a full-time property maintenance officer, zoning officer, is to be out there and inspecting these properties and making sure that they're staying in a property form that represents the entire area.
Okay, somewhat on the same vein, what are the candidates going to do about the impact of the Durham Crossing will have on the town? The new development.
We're talking about Motorola?
Yeah.
What was the question again?
What are you going to do about the impact that will have on our town?
Well, again, sitting on the planning board, and anybody that's been to the meetings as we went through this, it's another time we made sure that this applicant dotted every I, crossed every T, and put every punctuation mark in there. We also made sure that the roads that are going to be there, that there is going to be certain right-hand and left-hand turn lanes, so that will not bottle up as much traffic as people anticipated. Again, when they're conforming, and as John disagreed with, you cannot stop them when they come before you with everything legally permissible.
Again, overdevelopment in South Plainfield, we know it's been an issue. Again, you can't stop everything. You can try to get other businesses potentially to move into these, these areas. Again, I wasn't on the council back then when, this was all vacant land and everything, so I can't say, they did something wrong or did something right. But, the developer that bought it is known as, one of the largest residential developers. So he had every intention of obviously buying that property for whatever amount that he got it for and developing it into a residential site. We own it now, we have to deal with it. Unfortunately, I'm sure our schools are gonna feel more of a burden than anything else. You know, traffic over there in that one area is tough to begin with, so there's just things that we're gonna have to work with. It might be having to change lane restrictions around and stuff like that. I know there's been a big concern about medical services, the fire department, police department responding to those areas. So these are just things that now that this is actually gonna happen, that we're gonna have to really look at very closely and make sure that our residents on the far south side of town are still gonna get the proper services in a timely manner that they're gonna need in the time of need.
Just keep in mind that that original proposal was for over 800 units. It's down to just over 400. And that's a big change from what that was proposed for that lot and how we fought for this town.
As a teacher in this district, I can tell you that 400 units, 800 units, whatever it is, our schools are already overcrowded. We are going to have a problem. We're going to have a traffic problem. We're going to have all kinds of problems, not to mention the sewer problems that are going to incur. So I understand what we have to have, but I also understand the problems that are coming, and we really need to have a plan for that.
Your school board put out a dossier to figure out about that, a demography report, and it's stated by your own professionals that the impact of that development would not affect our schools past 2025. It actually will decrease, and that is public record.
Excuse me, I know it's public record, and I'm not on the school board, and I'm going to tell you as a person that works in the schools that every child that we get causes more and more problems because we don't have the room for them. So they told us that there was going to be 0.7 children per unit. I don't know where anybody gets 0.7 as a child, but I know that when they come, they're coming as a full child, and there's not 0.7 kids coming from that 400 units.
Again, it was the Board of Education that had the demography report, and that's what the planning board had to go on, was that report. And that's what we went on. And I don't disagree about a half a child, but there also could be, when they talked about traditions and celebrations, that everybody was concerned about how much that was going to impact our schools, and it truly hasn't had the impact that is thought to be.
Oh, wait a minute, excuse me, but yes, it has.
I will excuse you, go ahead.
Well, thank you. It certainly has impacted the schools, and maybe not in the way that you thought it would, or that some of the townspeople thought it would. The transient residents that come in and out cause such a problem in the schools. Go to the schools and find out. I don't care what a Board of Education report says. I don't care what anybody says. We're in those schools every day, and we know what's happening there. And when we get more kids, it's going to be a problem for every taxpayer in this room.
Okay, that's enough on this. Thank you, everybody. All right, so my next question is, can you explain, this is to everybody, can you explain why the pool was allowed to get to a point where it needed major repair?
Can you ask every person that was on the council from when it was built to this day, and then you can ask them when it happened? We can't answer that when you're not a council person. But I do know that sitting in the council meetings, what is proposed is going to be an awesome project, and it's going to beautify our town. And I agree with what the council has done in opening up on Democracy Day for everybody to make a choice, whether it was to go out or not, and the plans are in place. So I couldn't answer the questions of why it was allowed to decay all those years, and I'm sure that our opponents across the way can't answer because they'll tell you they weren't, especially Ms. Doyon. She wasn't on the council. Mr. Dean can only answer for the last 3 years, but it has moved forward, and we are going to have a great community pool, and it's going to be state of the art.
Correct. Again, only being on the council for 3 years. Can only say this. Yes, it was neglected. We all like to go back to 2009. We all like to go back to all these other years when, you know, none of us thought about being on the council. All I can say is that, yes, we've done repairs in the past to band-aid things, but we never looked ahead. We did a band-aid, we fixed it, but that's where we looked. We never looked further. We didn't look at like, all right, we did a band-aid now, we're okay to use it for now. But what is our plan in 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it may be? What is our plan? Because sooner or later, that pool's going to cost us millions of dollars to get redone. which thankfully, we're getting it done. It is costing us a couple $1 million. But that was something I ran on in 2016, was that, our children and our residents of town deserved a beautiful park, and that's what they're gonna get out of this. But again, we can't fight what we didn't have back then. We can only look at the future, and we're gonna have something great.
Thank you. Okay, this question was addressed to John. Kevin Hughes, the former recreation director, is awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to stealing in excess of $75,000 from the borough. How was Hughes able to perpetrate this crime over a period of 7 years? Why was the theft not caught during annual audits of the borough finances? And who is responsible for oversight of the recreation department? And how can the taxpayers be assured that the governing body is protecting them?
Correct. It's unfortunate that we've had a theft of funds, but I'm not part of the finance committee, and now I'm part of the recreation committee, so I can't say, too much about it 100% because wasn't in these meetings. All I do know is what I did hear was Kevin Hughes every month or whenever they had recreation meetings wasn't providing bank statements, and I don't know how long you could be on a commission or be the liaison for that commission and then not ask for reports and want to see the actual statements. I mean, I'm sitting on the environmental commission and I get statements from Alice Temple, periodically showing the amount of money that we have in our funds and everything like that. As far as the auditors go, I can't answer it. I questioned that myself. How did the auditors that not catch these things and put us in a vulnerable position like this, where now we have upwards of 75, or I've heard crazy numbers. I'm not even sure what the exact number is that is missing. Supposedly we're going to be reimbursed. Insurance is going to handle things and stuff like that. How are we going to move forward with it? Well, we got a new recreation director, Elizabeth Uris, and she seems phenomenal. So I think she's going to do great. I have full utmost trust in her, and I think everybody's watching very more closely now to make sure that this doesn't happen. Not just in recreation, not picking on recreation, it could be in any committee or any part of this town. That's all.
I would just like to add 2 additional safeguards. I know that as John mentioned, there was an outside company that hired our new director. But in addition to that, there is now a new Community Pass program, which is online. And with that, we as in the community, we're able to track the money coming in and out. In addition to that, the Recreation Commission has created internal committees. And I think they're in groups of 3. And what they do is they go over the financials, and they also have to sign off on things together, so they're more aware as to what's going on.
Excuse me, I think, if I was understanding the question, the question is, how did we get there? And who wasn't minding the store? You don't lose that kind of money if somebody's watching what's going on, and I have a real problem with that fact. I understand that now there's things being put in place, a little late, but I'm glad, and thank you, Mrs. Faustini gave a wonderful answer at the council meeting. But the problem is not, I'm glad that they're putting things forward. But how was this allowed to happen for so many years with nobody finding out? There's a problem with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for both parties. If elected, what would you do to stop professional and non-professional lawn care services from clogging our storm drains with leaves and grass and clippings from leaf blowers?
I'm going to yield my time to Mr. Dean since he owns a landscaping business. That is I would believe it's DPW, and if they do come forward with a new zoning officer and coding officer, that would be taken care of. But I'll still yield the remainder of my time to Mr. Dean.
I wish I wasn't a landscaper. I mean, look, in the past, I know, Mario Abrazazi, God rest his soul, he's not here with us anymore, but he did get calls in the past about, again, same thing, landscapers blowing grass out into the street, blowing leaves out to the roads and clogging it, and, by the time you get there, obviously they're gone, but he always said to the resident, if they see it, please take a photo, get the company names, get the information so we can follow up with it. As far as I go, my company, yeah, we, our guys better not be doing that. They're trained better to know better to not to do anything like that. So I just, again, it's the same thing as, I guess, take a photo, get the company information, get it to the proper authorities so that the borough, code enforcement officer, zoning officer, whoever, can actually handle that.
And one more thing, if I may. And if any of you that ride a motorcycle knows how deadly that can be to a cyclist when grass is on the road and we go around to go over it. So please do not blow your grass into the streets. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. This is a follow-up question about the tax rate question, and this is directed to the Republicans. The tax rate is flat for 10 years. Can you live on a salary you made in 2009? Sewer backups and infrastructure collapse, is that a good practice?
I would like the person to clarify the question, what the practice is. If everything that has been done in the past to keep your taxes down and you're getting better services than you were before, and you're going in-house more often and you're getting more competitive bids, what you made in 2009 does not affect what you're making in 2019 when it comes to that nature. It comes to the fact of how we can be more cost-effective in getting things done for our residents and keeping the taxes down. Like I stated before, this council has gotten you a AA bond rating, so they borrow at less money, they pay off less, pay less interest, and we're doing great jobs in our communities, and that's what we continue to try to do.
Okay, thank you. I now have a question for the Democrats. What does your only choice for a voice mean?
That means that we truly believe, I truly believe, I won't speak for John, that we need to have a two-party system in the borough, that we need to have input from both sides, and that it really shouldn't be anybody's team, it should be Team South Plainfield, and that everybody should be represented, and that when it becomes totally one-sided, then it doesn't give everybody a voice, and that's why we would say the only choice to have a voice, so that through both sides.
So then, can I understand this, Mrs. Doyon, that you're going to support the Republicans in the county offices since the Democrats have controlled that for the last 20 years?
Well, you want to tell me who you're voting for, and I'll tell you who I'm voting for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, what I said was, and what I will say it again, I said in our community, I said a community this size. When you have a community this size with so many people that want to be a part of things, but they're left out of it because they're not on the right team. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about in the country or anything else. I'm talking about South Plainfield.
The right team is going to be the team that works for the community and the residents of this town, and I think anybody that lives in this town knows that they've been getting a fair deal from the people that have been there. And you also have people of your party, including Mr. Dean and Mr. Vest, that's sitting in the audience, that's been part of that. And I applaud them for what they've done. But to have a one-party system rule that you're relating to, I didn't hear any complaints as a lifelong resident that you state you are when the Democrats controlled it for 15 years before the Republicans took over. And if you notice that we don't sit down and tell you we're Republicans, we're looking to work on a team, and yes, it's under Mayor Nesh, and if it wasn't Mayor Nesh or whatever it may be, that's putting South Plainfield first in everything that they've been doing. And that's what we're running on.
I would like to add, if I may, to that.
Hold on. The only choice to have a voice. Let's think about it for a second. All right, I'm on the council. I get up, I question things. There's certain things. Look, I'm 3 years on the council. I don't know everything. All right. So as I read the agendas, there's times that I don't understand certain things, and I'll question it. I'll ask. Sandy ran for mayor last year. Christine Keefe ran for council. Sherry Zwerko ran for council, and they were pretty much targeted that they never came to council meetings before. They don't get up. They didn't answer questions. Well, they did get up, and Christine and Sandy got up and answered questions. My question is, our two Republican candidates have been coming to meetings and never once got up and asked a question about anything on the agenda. So I have a problem with that. How can you sit back in the back of the room at every single council meeting and not question one thing on that agenda? Because to me, that's a little nerve-wracking. That's a little scary that you could just sit back and let us as a council do what we want and not ask a question. I mean, look, you gotta ask questions. If you want us to vote for you, you want the residents to vote for you, well, they need to know that you're gonna be out there fighting for them and making sure that the borough's gonna do the right things for them. And sitting back in the audience is not what I wanna see. So.
First, let me say I am a really good listener. I do a lot of listening and a lot less talking. And if I were to go up to the podium, as Ms. Doyon has done several times, with incorrect information, she was proven wrong with incorrect information, went up there with such conviction with facts that were given to her, and she was wrong. That's something I won't do.
Well, the fact is that when I was at the meeting last week, I think you might have been listening, I asked the council about letting Mr. Kevin Hughes go. And I was told by every single person on the council that they did not fire him, including the borough attorney. When in fact, they did fire him. It was on the agenda, and I do know my facts. There are times that just because they answer a question or anybody up there answers a question does not mean that somebody doesn't know their facts. It means sometimes things are twisted to go the way people want them to be. But when I get answers from them and they sit there, bald-faced lie, tell me, we did not fire Kevin Hughes. Yeah, you did, and I even told Matt that after the meeting. So we need to have people that are going to answer our questions truthfully.
Excuse me.
Wait, come on.
Hi, I'll wait back to you though, is that all right?
Okay. This is a question for the Democrats. In your October release, you said that we need new volunteers on boards. However, Councilman Dean voted for every single reappointment in the last 3 years and against new volunteers this year. In your October release, you said that we needed new volunteers on the boards. However, Councilman Dean voted for every single reappointment in the last 3 years and against new volunteers this year.
I don't know. I know Councilman Dean voted for what was appointed, what was given to him, I'm sure. However, true story, Christine Keefe and I both applied to be on the, I guess, the Environmental Commission and some others, and we were denied. They appointed somebody who died. They appointed a dead person rather than to give Christine or I the position. So that's why I really believe that we should have, more of a voice, because dead people really can't talk.
I don't know, do you believe in ghosts? But the question was to Mr. Dean, he's approved every appointment that was there and reappointment, but did not vote for any new. So Mrs. Doyon, if Mr. Dean did not vote for you, maybe you should look at your partner and ask him why he didn't vote for you.
She wasn't selected, so I couldn't vote on it. She's not on the list. How am I going to vote for something that's not there?
Why wouldn't you fight? All the other people do.
Because it's not. It's actually mayoral appointments and stuff like that. It's not all our appointments. We don't get to select who we want. Myself and Gary, we're not part of any of the selection of individuals that that were selected to be on these parties. I just thought I was a little upset that Debbie Boyle was not being reappointed to her commission that she was on. I think Debbie Boyle has always done great on her selection of jobs that she's always been on, and I was a little concerned that she was just being removed. I encourage everybody to be appointed to these things, but at that time, I had no idea why Debbie was being targeted pretty much and being removed from that position, and that's why I stood by why I voted on that.
Okay, well, let me give you a fact. When I was on the planning board for years, and when they were going to put additions in, I was removed from the planning board and was called by then Mayor Charlie Patrico and told me, and he actually called me just before Christmas to tell me that I would not be reappointed because the Republicans won the nomination. And I was removed, and 2 years later, the mayor and council reappointed me.
Okay, but I have nothing to do with that.
I didn't say you did, but the point of it is they're saying the party has to make these appointments, and I'm just telling you that that seems to be a trend. I'm not disagreeing with you, Mr. Dean. I'm just saying that there's stuff that has happened on both ways. So it has to be addressed, and I can tell you, if you put your confidence in me, I will look forward to doing that.
Okay, thank you. This is a question directed to the Republicans. Why do you say the new library was expanded at no cost when it was paid for by funds for the library?
I guess you would have to ask the Republicans that are in control, because as candidates, we do not have that information before us.
Thank you. This is a question for the Democrats. What would you do to enhance public safety?
Enhance public safety? Well, I think we got one of the best police departments going around. Yeah, they got, I guess, all the top-notch equipment. I see the purchase orders that come through that we sign off on for all this new technology stuff that they're applying for. So as far as public safety goes, our fire department, I think, is, again, one of the top-line fire departments. They got the best apparatus out there. We just gave our rescue squad 2 brand new ambulances to do what they're, what they got to do with. So I don't think any of our public safeties are lacking in any shape or form.
As far as public safety, I think that I would like to delve more into, of course, personal reasons, into the drug problem and into having more resources for addicts and for families in town that are suffering, which there are many. Many people stop me and talk to me about it because they know that I've been there, and we don't have anything for them. And that's the safety of our children, and that's something that I really think needs to be addressed.
I would just say that I actually agree with both Ms. Doyon and Mr. Dean. We do have the best police department out there. We do have to always look for ways to support them. And as far as opioids, drug addiction, and so forth, that's definitely something we need to stay on top of as well.
Okay, I have a question for the Republicans. Why do the candidates feel like they can take credit for what has happened during the current administration?
I don't believe I took credit for anything. I just want to join the winning team. I'm not taking credit for anything that this council and mayor have done in the past. I just think they've done a great job. And I commend every one of them, from Mayor Nash all the way down to Councilman Dean. They've done a great job for this town, and I just want to be part of that team that keeps doing the right stuff for South Plainfield.
I gotta say, seeing all the flyers and advertisements, whatever it may be, calling it the team, it's kind of a kick in my face to say, because being on the council, I've got along with every one of them, all the council members, pretty much voted for everything that came across the board, questioned things obviously, but to be considered not part of Mayor Nesh's team, even though I guess maybe because I'm a Democrat, it's a slap in my face. I work up there with the rest of the council. I don't pick sides. I'm a Democrat. I can't vote for this because that's the wrong thing to do. No, I do what's right for the residents of the town. So to be not considered part of that team, yeah, all right, it's a little bit of, like I said, slap in the face. I think most people that I've talked to, while going door to door, talking to residents and everything is, who is Melanie Mott, who is Pete Smith? All we keep on hearing about is the accomplishments of the Mayor and Nesh team, but we haven't heard anything about what they propose to make South Plainfield in their ways of looking at getting things done. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, well, that's a great way to segue to the next question. I'd like each candidate to name 3 things you want to do if you are elected. So we could start with the Republicans.
The 3 things I would like to do is, like I said, number one, continue the success that South Plainfield has going forward. 2, work with the community and what they feel, listen to what they say, and work with them to make South Plainfield a better community that we all could be happy and live safely in. And 3, like I stated before, try to look into renewable energies to help our green community.
Well, there are several things. Of course, keeping taxes in check, safety. Our 3 main points are basically the keeping taxes low, beautification of South Plainfield, and expanding the needs of our children, particularly with our special needs children. We would like to get more programs in place because there is definitely a major need for additional programs for our special needs children. We'd like to work with the parents on that who know best. And we would also like to extend hours for our summer camps program so it's more conducive to working families.
Well, we got the community pool going in, so that's a plus. Definitely infrastructures. We're having a lot of infrastructure problems right now in the town with sewer repairs. We're paving roads, we're doing stuff like this, but we're starting to get into a routine now that before we do a road improvement project, we're looking at everything on the road as well. So we need to keep that up. We definitely need our infrastructures. We can't just pave a road and forget about the sewers that are underneath it that have been in the ground since, early years. So with that being said, we gotta do that. The next thing I would love to see South Plainfield have redone is our Borough Hall. Our Borough Hall is just a Band-Aid after Band-Aid on top of that. See, a lot of towns are actually redoing their Borough Halls now and stuff like that. And that's something that, we gotta sit down as a council and look at about, revamping that building because it's starting to cost the borough a lot of money with all the little wear and tear items that are constantly going wrong over there. And again, our development, our economic development, we need to start attracting more stores, popular stores, restaurants into our town. If we don't start changing a lot of the appearance of the town, we're never going to get the higher end stores to move into our town, some fancier restaurants to move into our town. So we need to look at these things. There's a lot of towns have an actual employee that works for the borough that works as the economic development officer per se. And researches that and handles that and looks at getting what we can do to attract all this to our town, which again will benefit everybody. It just makes your property values go up and everything else.
Sorry. I agree with John. I have major concerns about the infrastructure, especially the sewers, and with the facilities. Borough Hall looks a little bit like Brady Bunch House, and it's just with what they're doing with the schools and the updates that are coming, they look really good. Now, let's face it, a lot of the stuff that we have here, we have thanks to Middlesex County, our Spring Lake Park, things that are beautiful in town. There's a lot of things that we need to do, and of course my other one was to do something with the opioid crisis and to help people with that. And I also think we need to, going along with the beautification, I think we need to look at what we have right now. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. We have businesses, we have storefronts that are glass open storefronts that have junk in the windows and things are not covered. And I mean, these are things that could be beautified with no money, no taxpayer money, but the people that own those properties should be responsible to make them look like they belong in South Plainfield. This is a wonderful community and we need to keep it that way.
Thank you. Okay, Jon, as a follow-up question for this one, as an incumbent, what is one thing you have accomplished in the past 3 years that you are most proud of?
The community pool. I think it's great. I mean, I grew up, and again, like I said, I grew up in South Plainfield. My parents took me to that pool, and it's the same pool that it was back when. Well, I was born in 1979, so we'll say since 1983 or 84, minus a few little changes here and there. But the biggest accomplishment I could say, I'm glad that the borough and the residents stood by us as well and supported that referendum for Democracy Day. to get this pool done. And, you know, I don't know how many people actually saw the plans and everything, but South Plainfield's gonna have one of the nicest facilities going around, which, again, it could be a great thing as well. You know, hopefully that will attract more residents to move into our town as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna have a two-part question for each candidate to answer. If you are elected to council, what do you feel will be the biggest challenge you will face, and why did you decide to run for council? And we'll start with the Republicans.
Can you repeat that, please?
If you are elected to the council, what do you feel will be the biggest challenge you will face? And I would also like you to just touch on why you decided to run for council.
Well, I'd like to start with the second part first, if I may.
Okay.
Back around 2003, 2004, when I used to run the Sacred Heart Athletic Program, I was approached by a great man who just recently passed, Jim Brookle, and Councilman Dennis Cerami to run. And I elected not to because I wanted to focus on my children and my family. After that, and doing all of what I've accomplished with the Elks and sitting on the planning board and being asked, I thought about running as an independent because I don't believe in a party. I believe in being a public servant, and that is what I am running for. But recently, about 2 years ago, I was approached to run, and I thought about it, and with the great permission of my wife, I decided to go forward and do this so that I could do what I can do in all my knowledge and workmanship and dedication to the residents of this community. And with that, the biggest challenge would be is to make them happy, to make sure that we listen to everything that they have to say and push forth through council meetings what we need to get done to keep South Plainfield going in the right direction.
So about the challenge, I mean, there are always challenges every day in life, personal, work-related, whatever it may be. It's really just the end result that really matters. So whatever challenge is put before me, I'm sure I'll be able to handle just fine. And why I ran for council, well, you know, it really just comes straight from the heart. There's really no fancy answer for this. I've always enjoyed helping people. Again, I've been in customer service my whole life. And I wanted to use that to help our South Plainfield residents.
So, the challenges of being on council. Well, it's not easy because, first off, especially when you're new, I still consider myself very new. You're not going to understand the whole aspects of running for council and everything that goes with it. First year, second year, third year. I'm finally starting to understand a little more and getting a little more involved and questioning a lot more things and getting that niche, but it takes many years to really fully be able to run and understand the whole aspect of running for council. Why I did it, well, you know, again, I've always devoted my life to South Plainfield and running, you know, doing everything. The fire department, love the fire department. Chief Macharski's in the back, love him to death. I just don't see myself getting up at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning anymore and, you know, chasing fire calls. You know, work got consuming, got a family, all that. So life got busy and had to step away from the fire department and all that. Wanting to always still be involved in the town, it took me a while. You know, after I left the fire department and emergency management, I kind of just focused on my business and life as well. And then I got to the point where, you know, again, I love South Plainfield. It's in my blood. I will always love South Plainfield. And that's where I decided, you know, I started coming to more and more meetings and just, you know, helping out whatever way I can. And that's when I said, you know what, I want to try to run for South Plainfield. I want to run for council.
Thank you. I think probably one of the biggest challenges, if not the biggest, is going to be to deal with the problems that are going to be coming with the overdevelopment. Not only with the schools and the sewers and the traffic, just the problems that are going to come along with that. That's going to be a challenge for whoever is sitting on the council. And why I'm doing this? Because I know I could do a really good job is the number one reason. And I can tell you the exact minute that I decided to run for council. It was the council meeting directly after the last election in November of 2018. When we sat there and we were told that night that the community pool was going to be closing. When we went through an entire election and everything was wonderful and getting done, until right after the election, the community was told, you know, we're not getting it done so much, the pool's gotta close. And I just thought that I couldn't walk away from it. I just believe that I have a lot to offer, and I think we need to be transparent with the people, and I think the people deserve more than they're getting in that aspect. As far as other things, the town's a great town, love it, been here my whole life, plan to stay here forever. But I think all of us up here are running because we care about the town. There's no doubt about that, because nobody would want to put in this kind of time if they didn't love the town.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're down to our last two questions, which is going to be a two-part question for everyone. And we'll start from this side and go the reverse. Why do you feel your running mate will make a good council person? And can you say something nice about your opponents?
The reason first of all, I love Jon. I think he's a great guy. The things that he does for people out of the goodness of his heart are amazing to me. And he's already a great councilman, so I don't have to wonder about that. Do I have good things to say about my opponents? Of course. They're both very nice people who want to do what they feel is best for South Plainfield. And I just kind of feel that I'd be able to do a little better.
Sandy's got a heart of gold. She, from teaching kids, all her entire life, and the way she communicates with them and follows up with them through, the high school with their letters and everything like that is great. I mean, she shows the dedication and the heart that she cares about the residents of this town and their children. So I think that's great that she's run. I'm glad she's run with me. I will miss Gary, as very much as well. And as far as our opponents, Melanie and Pete, again, the same thing. They have the right heart. They care about South Plainfield. If you didn't care about South Plainfield, you wouldn't be sitting up here and going through all this. So again, putting your name out there and coming out here, it's nerve-wracking. You never know what's going to happen. And win, lose, or draw, I will still be here for the residents of South Plainfield, and I will continue to help out the mayor and everybody else as well as a business person. Anything I can do to help out our borough is fine by me. It doesn't mean I have to be a councilman or not. I will still be here. My heart is to South Plainfield, just like everybody else up here.
Well, how sweet, thank you. Well, I would like to say that you're both very personable. And Jon, you might have a little leg up since you're a Libra like myself. But as far as Pete goes, Pete has shown 100% pure dedication to public service. Between the Elks, the Army of Hope, scholarship programs. I mean, Pete works tirelessly to help other people and doesn't want anything in return. And I think that would be highly beneficial for our residents.
Well, thank you. As far as my opponents are, I think they're very admirable people. I got to know them over the last year, more Jon than Sandy. I appreciate her as an educator for what she does for her students. I think that is great that she constantly stays in contact with them. As for Jon, I've been constantly invited to different events to be with us, extended the welcoming hand, and I admire them both for putting forth their time for the residents. As far as Melanie is concerned, I met Melanie earlier this year, and I have never found a person more dedicated to public service and community service and customer service, as she says, than she does. She is out there working her tail off to let you know that she is there for you. And just like Melanie and I, we feel we are the better people for this town based on our experiences of customer service and giving back to our youth, our community, our veterans, and our special needs children.
Thank you, everyone. At this point, we will move to the closing statements, and we will start with the
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the South Plainfield Business Association and the Observer, and especially all of you for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. and thank you for all the work you do for our community. South Plainfield has been a wonderful community to grow up in and continues to be a great place to live and raise a family. With all that it has to offer, we can always do better. As we're seeing much needed repairs and updates to our schools, we need to take a hard look and make sure that other vacant buildings and businesses are not left as eyesores to our community in disrepair. We need to work harder to bring anchor businesses to the borough that will enhance our community and bring added job opportunities for our residents, young and old. There are also many residents who are suffering financially, emotionally, and could use our help. Not through spending taxpayers' dollars, but by us paying it forward and offering volunteer programs, information, education, and any assistance that we can offer. My father always told me that I was going to be the oldest cheerleader that ever lived in South Plainfield. And he's right. And I will continue to be the oldest cheerleader that lives in South Plainfield. I will work hard for this community. As John said, no matter what happens, I'll never stop. I'll continue to do the scholarship programs that I do. I'll continue to work with children, and I'll continue to donate my time. I really appreciate all of you being here, and I thank John for his support and being my running mate, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Again, yes, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, the South Plainfield Business Association and Observer, for putting this all together tonight. I hope I was able to answer everyone's questions as best as I can. I've had a great time being on the council and working along with all the mayor and the rest of the council members as well. If there's anything I could say about about being on council, I've had a great time working for everybody and the residents. With this being my first term, most proud of, again, our community pool. Our children and residents are finally going to have the greatest facility going around. Yes, it's going to cost money, but if we continue to neglect our facilities and don't stay on top of everything, it's only going to cost us a whole lot more. We have an excellent library, and the staff is consistently improving there and putting together wonderful programs for our children. It's unfortunate that we had to deal with the experience of the theft of funds from the recreation, but one thing it did do is it led us to a new recreation director that I've only met a handful of times, specifically during our pool reconstruction meetings. Her name is Elizabeth Yuris. I can tell by her enthusiasm and her knowledge, she's going to be another huge asset to our borough. If we can keep improving South Plainfield, we will become one of the most desired towns to live in, which is only going to help us improve, again, our downtown, to get more stores, get more restaurants, and to move into this town while increasing our ratables. While all this is getting done with the improvements in infrastructure being repaired and redone and a new pool, I also want to thank Middlesex County freeholders and our administrators for everything that they have done for our borough as well. Since being elected, we all know the traffic nightmares that we face within the trucks that we're able to get around. With that being said, we were able to get visible signage and flashing lights alerting drivers a better direction to go. While this isn't going to complete the borough fix, we're still working to get a truck bypass done to alleviate the constant truck through. Okay.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight. It is a true honor to be endorsed by Mayor Nash to run for council and to join a team that is diverse but like-minded with the same fierce work ethic, dedication, passion that they put forth to serve all of us. I have zero interest in any political or social gains, and my family and friends will tell you the same. They will also tell you that once I commit to something, I commit 100%. I am fair, honest, fully transparent, open-minded, a great listener, and a relentless fighter when it comes to doing the right thing. You can expect nothing but the best from me, and it would be a great honor and privilege to serve all of you. Again, I thank you for being here tonight and for the overwhelming support that the South Plainfield residents have shown us. We sincerely appreciate you.
Well, like everyone said, I would like to thank the South Plainfield Business Administrator and the Observer for putting this on tonight, but more importantly, I want to thank you. You, the people that came here to listen to us for what it is that you need to hear from us to be your next representative on Borough Council. More importantly, though, I'd like to thank my wife for all her support for me being here today. What I will do for you is what you ask of me. I am honored to know that Derek White has done a great job in economic development in our community, and continue to hope that I can work with him to bring what everybody has been saying here tonight. I'd like to thank the fire department, the police department, and EMS and the rescue squad for everything they do for us. And that is part of you. That is all part of what we are as a community. I can tell you from my leadership through the Elks, as being a state president in the New Jersey State Elks Association and sitting on Grand Lodge in Chicago, all the experiences that I have of the 112 lodges that sat in the state that overlooked, I think I would do a great job overlooking South Plainfield. And it's not going to be, we're going to be a great community. We are a great community, and we are going to be a better community when we all work together in unity. And it is my privilege and honor to be up here tonight with Jon, Sandy, and Melanie to present all of what you have asked us, and hopefully, like Jon said, we've answered those questions, that you can make the best educated decision to put us on council. I thank you again for being here, taking the time out of your timeless schedules that have other things as well. And I thank our candidates and councilmen for being here tonight. Thank you. God bless.
On behalf of the South Plainfield Business Association and the Observer, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, and I want to thank the candidates. I think we have 4 great candidates. And I want to thank Suzanne, who had the dubious job of picking out the questions and stopping people, and she did a great job. And I'd like to hear a hand. Good luck to you all, and don't forget to go out and vote on November 5th. And if you have a mail-in ballot like I do, get it in. All right? Thank you.